we crank things up with the transfer portal here because it is the rumor mill that never stops. And I'm adjusting to it. I think you're adjusting to it as fans of the sport. I don't know if coaches will ever fully adjust to it, but it is interesting. And I'm not going to get into the massive just dog chasing cars, every rumor that flies by. We're all over it. I can't, you'll never stop if you do that. So I'm out on that. But when things make sense and some dots get connected, it's worth a mention at least. So what do we know about Brian Kelly's first transfer portal class here at LSU? Jarek Bernard Converse. Know about Mekhi Garner. Know about Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché. These are people with Louisiana ties, whether they played at Louisiana Lafayette or are from the state and went out of the state for college. And that wasn't a coincidence. We know that because Brian Kelly said it. It's not even a rumor. It's what he said. If there are some guys with Louisiana ties, we feel like those are worthwhile efforts to make because you come home, you feel a sense of home, you still feel a sense of pride in your state, you're more likely to buy in and commit to what we're doing here. You didn't out of high school, didn't have the chance. Brian Kelly wasn't here. But you've seen something else, and you have interest in coming back home. Well, that logic applies to a couple of Southeastern Conference players. One is in the transfer portal. One said he was and then isn't. But we'll bring them both up here. The first is Aaron Anderson. Aaron Anderson entered the transfer portal from Alabama. He was a 4-star wide receiver from Carr. If you look at 247, he was the number 49 player in the country on 247. If you look at their composite, he was the 35th ranked player in the country. So borderline 5-star wide receiver. A little bit undersized, but lightning quick, fast. Kind of announced his presence on the national scene with an ESPN2 game against John Curtis. What did he do in that game? Well, he ran 3 kicks back for touchdowns against Curtis on TV. When you look back at year one of the Brian Kelly era, you say, where'd they have some issues? Kick return game wasn't great. You had no explosive plays in the kickoff return game. You had one explosive play in the punt return game, and it got called back for a penalty. Jack Bech ran a punt back. And you were dropping punts and kickoffs all over the place. Perhaps Aaron Anderson would fill that void. Just a thought. So I think that's someone that LSU will be pursuing. Because if you, again, it's like it's the dogs chasing cars analogy. You chase every single car, you'll never catch one because you'll just keep jumping to the next one. You got to spend your time and resources, which are limited, on guys that make sense. And Aaron Anderson makes some sense here. Is there a ton of room at the front end of this? Aaron Anderson's played 1 year in Tuscaloosa. He could technically come back and play 3 more. There aren't a ton of balls to be caught as a wide receiver on this 2023 LSU team. Kayshon Boutte is back. Malik Neighbors is back. Brian Thomas is back. Chris Hilton is back. Mason Taylor is back. You've got Shelton Sampson coming in. A couple other very highly thought of receivers. So from a playing time standpoint and a production standpoint in year one, would this make a ton of sense for Aaron Anderson? I don't know. If you want to go back there and catch punts and kickoffs, that's awesome. You're going to have to fight to get on the field as a wide receiver. He was hurt early in his Alabama career, never really caught up and got on the field. But you start to look a year past that, Boutte will be gone. Neighbors could be gone. Thomas could be gone. Hilton could be gone. Now all of a sudden it opens up. So, sure, he could earn his way and be the number 1 receiver on next year's team. I doubt it. But there is a blockade there that clears after a year, but there is a need at kick returner. Aaron Anderson makes a lot of sense there. We'll see if that's the case. He is in the transfer portal. I do expect LSU to make a play on Aaron Anderson. There's another guy who's not in the transfer portal. I'm not on staff at LSU as a football coach, so I'm not tampering. Edgerrin Cooper mentioned a few times that he would go in the transfer portal. As of this second, 1:06 p.m. on Tuesday, December the 13th of 2022, he's not in the portal. But there have been rumblings. Edgerrin Cooper was a 4-star recruit out of Covington High School over on the North Shore. In 2020, the COVID year at Texas A&M, he played on special teams in every game. Last year, as a freshman, he was 4th on A&M's team in tackles. After that season was over, he was given the postseason award for the most improved defensive player and the best strength and conditioning program effort from the defensive side of the ball for them. So strength and conditioning award, most improved award, Edgerrin Cooper got it as a freshman. This past season in 2022, at linebacker for A&M, 61 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and he forced the fumble on Jaden Daniels that flipped that game in College Station. LSU had brought it back and tied the game, had the football, had gotten A&M on a couple 3-and-outs. He thought they had stabilized themselves. He knocks the ball free from Jaden Daniels, scoop and score. A&M's off to the races. Now, Billy Lucci over at TexAgs has said to his message board people and his subscribers that, hey, we think everything's good here. We don't think he's going to enter the transfer portal. He also said you never say never on these types of things. So this is one that at this point is not a play, but is something to keep an eye on if you're an LSU fan. LSU is in the market for linebackers, and the reason I want him is twofold. One, he comes in and is a guy who can start on the inside at linebacker for you. Two, A&M is in dire need of linebackers. Dire need. They've been ripped free of all their linebackers. You heard all that discussion when Harold Perkins was making a bunch of plays for LSU. They had a 5-star linebacker commit in Hill. Anthony Hill, he decommits. Looks like he may be headed to Austin. They've got a huge void at linebacker, and this would make it a lot worse. I'm all for that. You heard me? So I'm keeping my eye on Edgerrin Cooper. That's one that there's still a lot of time here. I think it felt like last week that if you looked at the transfer portal, everybody was coming in 3 days, and now it's a free-for-all. No, this is a process. Remember, people didn't used to make any decisions ever until after the bowl game. I remember breaking the story because he told me in the post-game that Trey Turner was leaving after the Outback Bowl in January 1st of 2014. That's when this stuff used to happen, the first week of January. Now it starts to happen right after Thanksgiving and then right after the SEC Championship game. There is some time. So we'll see what Edgerrin Cooper decides to do. I believe LSU will be very much in the mix for Aaron Anderson, 4-star wide receiver from Alabama who went to Carr. I think Edgerrin Cooper, who's a product of the North Shore, is a possibility for LSU should he enter the transfer portal. That has not happened just yet. The other mention of the transfer portal for today, Derek Davis from LSU is announced he's going to enter the transfer portal. Remember, Davis was a big-time safety prospect that came into LSU, never really got to the field as a safety. Then LSU was out of running backs in the game against UAB at the end of the season. So he came in there and took a couple carries because he was a running back in high school. And Brian Kelly came to the podium after and was like, and we'll went into like, what do you think about Davis running the ball? I guess, well, we should have put them there a lot earlier. So there was a thought that maybe if Emory was gone and you're looking at the running back room and you're a little light on numbers, maybe Davis switches sides of the ball and becomes a running back on this team. That does not appear to be the case. I'm not sure what he would like to do, if he'd like to stay at safety, where he looks to be headed, but it doesn't appear that's going to be at LSU. So LSU is okay at safety, not great. The depth is not great. He would have certainly helped there, but you still got Major Burns, you still got Sage Ryan, you still got Matthew Langlois. You've got some guys at safety. Tolles out, Davis out. It's a revolving door. May have to go into the transfer portal, and certainly you've signed a couple really good ones in this class, or will you expect to sign a couple really good ones in this class in a week. But Derek Davis doesn't appear to be part of those plans moving forward, so he will move out into the transfer portal. We'll see where his next stop is.